Do you remember when 29ers entered the world of mountain bikes? I kind of do, and I remember that the internet melted. The promise was for better rolling over roots and rocks and other mountain bikey things. But like with any standard that's new in the cycling industry, everyone hated it. But eventually 29ers were accepted, mostly by the lycra-clad XC crowd, and mostly because big brands forced the changes on everyone. But I digress. The gravel world is about to see the introduction of a bigger wheel standard, and it's called 750D. So naturally I thought, let's go for a ride and test it out. WTB, Moots and a few other brands have been the ones pushing this forward, and they've done this really for two reasons. Firstly, the larger 660mm rim diameter is meant to roll more easily over rough terrain, just like the promise of 29ers then. But these bigger wheels are also meant to help custom builds for taller riders. Now, I would love to test that out, but I'm about 5'8" on a good day, so I'll focus on testing these wheels, well, and seeing if they're any faster.
So the way that the wheels hold their speed is actually quite good, but it's not going to pretend that it's actually noticeably better than the standard wheel set.
Before we do that testing though, a quick brief on what you're looking at, because we're not all wheel nerds and I want to help you understand how these differ from the wheels that are on your gravel bike at home. When paired with gravel tyres, 750D wheels are designed to have an overall diameter similar to that of 29-inch mountain bike wheels with larger mountain bike tyres. You're with me so far? Yeah, cool. A standard 700C has a diameter of 622mm, while a 750D wheel has a bead-to-bead diameter of 660mm. Other than the size difference though, these 750D wheels are roughly the same. Otherwise, everything's pretty much standard fare. The spokes are a bit longer than usual, and the internal rim width is a rather, well, standard 25mm. They're also tubeless ready. So other than the diameter, they are pretty normal. But there is a weight difference to factor in, though really the difference is more in the tyres, because these rims are carbon while these rims are aluminium. So we can't really compare apples for apples there. It's, well, kind of worth noting that you will need a whole new bike to fit these wheels. This one is from Merit and it's been specially made to fit the wheels. Though, like with standard frame and 650B wheels, this does actually fit the 700C standard wheels.
I have to say the climbing seems to be a bit of an extension of the rolling speed. But does it? Well, I'm not sure whether it's like the fact that it's kind of holding a bit more pace over smaller rocks, which might stock you in your tracks as you're going down. But not too bad, but not a huge difference. Let's test speed from a slow start. Again, that feels just like the 700C wheel set. No difference. I think one thing that surprises me about these wheels is that they don't feel any more compliant than standard wheels. And I know you might be thinking, oh, they're just wheels. But they do have longer spokes, and I thought that that would make a bit of a difference. Now, I will say that I am running some pretty low pressures today. It's quite wet, the trails are all muddy. I don't really fancy sliding out of one of these corners, but yeah, I'm still getting plenty of feedback through the bike. Now, you might like that. That might be your thing. Personally, it's not for me. Now, big question is, do they feel big? Can you feel a difference? I kind of can and I kind of can't. Depends what you talk about and where. In some of those more technical corners, they do feel big. They feel like they're pushing you a bit higher, which isn't great. But then in the faster corners that we were doing just down at the bottom, well, the bike still feels very flickable. And I'm not sure if that hype actually has a little bit of a benefit. In terms of cornering, I think the big wheels are kind of feeling like they put me quite high up on the bike. So I think if you were doing this, again, I think you'd really benefit from having a dropper post. On those technical trails, they did feel a little bit big, but I think that was more to the fact that they were kind of pushing me above where I would usually sit off the bike. Cornering was good, but not revolutionary, but I did, on faster corners, feel like I was really able to tip the bike in a bit faster, but I'm not sure that's down to the wheels themselves. So, the verdict. I don't think I'll be rushing out to buy these wheels or anything like this just now, but I will be keeping an eye on them. And I really want to see how different riders use these, because I am just one rider and there's loads of different rider types, sizes, and intentions out there.
I'd actually like to use this video to start a conspiracy theory. I reckon that there is one person in the cycling industry whose sole job it is to come up with a thing every few years or so to really annoy us. And welcome to their latest attempt. No, but let's be serious for a moment. Even if we do start to see brands jump on the 750D bandwagon, there isn't anything wrong in having a choice. Taller riders might enjoy the most significant benefit from the larger wheel size, allowing them to ride a bike with similar handling characteristics to smaller sized bikes. If that makes bikes better for those people, well, that's a good thing. And what about riders of a more average height like myself, who might benefit from a wheel that rolls more easily on off-road terrain? Well, that's a more difficult question to answer, because the shift required to actually port the current design thinking over to the larger wheel side is huge compared to any benefit. Riders don't hate 700C wheels for being hard to handle over technical terrain, meaning there's unlikely to be a genuine momentum behind converting to 750D.
Okay, enough messing about on the trails. I need to kind of wrap up my thoughts now. And I think that on flowy stuff, they really do feel quite fast. I'm sure they feel a huge amount faster than a 700C wheel, but they felt great on that flowing trail just down there. On technical stuff, I did feel like they sat a little bit big, which was kind of weird, but wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Would I go out and buy these? Maybe not right now, but I will be keeping an eye on the tech, just because it's interesting.
But now I want to put my tinfoil hat on. Okay, so there are only a couple of examples now of brands making these wheels, and WTBs are literally a prototype. The same can be said for the tyres that you're going to need to use, or a custom frame that you're going to need to buy. But what happens if the bike industry decides that 750D is better for gravel bikes of other sizes than just really tall people? Or maybe the majority find that they're faster on the road? Then we're talking about a creep towards some pros using it, and then the UCI eventually accepting it. And finally, you'll all have to buy new frames. It happened with disc brakes, just saying.